Hello and welcome to ACT English Part 6. We're just going to talk about a few rhetorical skills you might need for the ACT English test, and we're going to have some general review in this session. So it's not a very long session, and let's get started. All right, we're going to talk about parallel structures. So words and phrases in a sentence should follow the same grammatical pattern. These type of questions most often show up in list and sometimes in a not only but also sentence pattern. So here's some examples. For weeks, she fretted, worried, and was feeling anxiety. So what happened here? We went from past tense form, fretted, worried, and to a different tense. So we need to make this one past tense since the other two are. So we need to say, for weeks she fretted, worried, and felt anxious. All right, here's another example of a sentence that's not parallel. I need a car that gets good gas mileage, has a full warranty, and one that I can depend on. So we went from having phrases like gets good gas mileage, that starts with the verb, has a full warranty, that starts with the verb, and now we have this last one starts with a noun. So let's see if we can fix that. We'd like to say, I need a car that gets good gas mileage, has a full warranty, and is dependable. This starts with the verb just like the other two. All right, some more about parallelism. Here's another example. When we increase maintenance services, we reduced repair costs. So really what we're doing here, we have a present tense increased maintenance service and we went to past tense. So let's look at the options here. No change as we leave it like it is. And here's one. When we increase maintenance services, we reduce repair costs. That looks good. Here's another one. When we increase maintenance services that we provide, we reduce repair costs for everyone living here. That's a little wordy. We don't really need that extra word. So anytime that we can get rid of words, we should. Shorter is better. Okay, and let's look at the last one. When we reduce repair costs, we increase maintenance services. So now we went from past tense here to present tense here. So the correct answer would be B. All right, let's talk about rhetorical skills. That's just techniques you use to have writing that's clear, engaging, and appropriate for the audience and the purpose of your paper. Sometimes you're just writing an informative essay. Sometimes you're trying to convince someone of something, a persuasive essay. Sometimes it's just to tell a story, just to tell a story and entertain. So good writing has proper introductions, proper transitions, and proper conclusions. And the audience, they determine the amount of jargon you can use, the level of formality, the detail you can use, and how specific you should be. So if you're writing to an audience of the general public, you can't use as much jargon. But if you're doing writing that's to fellow professionals in your same occupation, then you can use a lot more jargon. So you just kind of have to determine the tone of the essay or the passage on the ACT test and decide what's appropriate. So let's talk about some transitions. You have transitions of different types. Some of them continue the thought that's in the previous sentences and phrases, and some of them contradict it, and some of them are about cause and effect. So some of the ones that continue are just things like furthermore, in addition, likewise, moreover. Those kind of continue the thought. Contradictory type transitions are like although, however, nevertheless, on the other hand, otherwise, whereas. So you can tell these are contradicting what came before. And cause and effect type ones are therefore, because, accordingly. So you got to determine, sometimes you'll have answer choices and you have to determine which type of transition you should use, or you have to look at the transitions in the sentence to see if you're continuing on with the same line of thought or contradicting it. All right. Good rhetoric skills requires that you avoid redundancy and wordiness. So just remember this, shorter is better. As long as the meaning is clear and you get the meaning across, shorter is better. So redundancy is the unnecessary repetition of ideas, and wordiness is using several words when just a few will do. So you want to be as concise as you can. The fewer words you can use, the better. All right, let's look at an example. Over many weeks, as time goes by, her collection slowly grows. So let's see, would we want to say no change and keep over many weeks and as time goes by? Well, really, over many weeks already implies that time is going by. So I don't think we want the no change. Over many weeks with the passing of time, same problem. We already conveyed that time's going by when we said over many weeks. So gradually, over many weeks, gradually, her collection slowly grows. I think we're saying that 3 times, over many weeks and gradually and slowly. So that's not the one. And D is omit, the underlined portion. Omit means delete. It means take it out. So over many weeks, her collection slowly grows. That is the correct answer because we don't need this. This is unnecessary and redundant. Now, I want to make a note that any questions that have the options of omit and delete, you should give those a special look because more often than not, I'm not saying always, but more often than not, that is the correct answer. So just give it a really good look because often that's the right choice. All right, here's another example. I live with my father in the summer when I'm on vacation from school. Last week, he told me he had to go on a business trip in connection with his work and that I'd be staying with his sister for 3 days. So do we want the no change option? What do you think? So we already said business trip. So that implies it's connected with his work. So I don't think the no change is the right option. Having something to do with his job, that's not any better. That's already implied in the word business. That involved traveling to another city, that's not needed because trip means you're going to another city. So the last option is omit the underlined portion, and that's what we should do because it's already conveyed in the short phrase business trip rather than in connection with his work. We don't need to repeat that. All right, let's just do some general review about all the things we've been learning. So this could test you on any number of things. So the average household is not only wasting their own time and money, but they are. So we're going to look at some parallel structure. We're going to look at the subjects and pronouns we're using. So the average household, that is a singular subject. And we've said not only wasting their, we went to a plural possessive pronoun and they a plural pronoun here. So the no change option I don't think is correct. So let's look at the rest. The average household is not only wasting its time and money, but they are. So here we kept a singular possessive pronoun, but we still have a plural pronoun here. So that's incorrect. The average household is not only wasting its time and money, but it is. So I think that's correct there. C, average household, it's, and it. But let's look at the last one. I always like to look at all the answer choices. The average household is not only wasting its time and money, but their. So this is totally wrong form of it. That would be wasting it is time and money. So we know that's wrong without looking any further. All right. By going paperless and if we use the internet. So we've not kept parallel structure here. So let's look at what we want to do. So no change is not the option we want. So if we use the internet and going paperless, no, that doesn't sound good. If we just said if we use the internet and go paperless, that would have been okay, but it doesn't say that. So if we go paperless and using the internet, still we don't have the same form of the verbs. So let's look here. By going paperless and using the internet. Now we have the same form of the verb, the one that ends in ing. So D would be the correct answer. The family moved to a farm south of Kansas City, Missouri in 1887 and then to Independence, Missouri in 1890. Well, one of the things it's testing is commas, that we can see what's changing down here in the answer choices. Look at your answer choices and it gives you an idea of what you're being tested on. So obviously there's differences in the commas here. So we learned back in our first lesson that we need a comma after a state. So it's not going to be the no change option. The answer B does have a comma after the state. So let's see, Kansas City, but it doesn't have a comma between the city and the state. So we know it's not B. All right, let's look at answer choice C. Kansas City's got a comma there. Missouri got a comma there in 1887 and then. So that looks good to me, but let's look at the last one. It has an extra comma. Do we want that extra comma? then to Independence, Missouri in 1890. No, we don't, because we learned in our first lesson that we use a comma and a fanboy when we have two independent clauses that can stand on their own. This is not an independent clause, then to Independence, Missouri. That doesn't make sense on its own. So you would not use a comma in front of the and. So the correct answer is C. Often, my brother and I joined our mother on her adventures into tidal lands. So we're look again in your answer choices, you can see different amounts of commas. We're being tested on commas. So do we need this comma or not? So no change is one option. Often my brother, comma, and I, that's totally unnecessary. It's not a list. If it had said my sister, aunt, brother, and I, then maybe, but it's just my brother and I. So we don't need a comma there. B's out. Similarly, C's out because we don't want that comma there. So look at this one, D. Often my brother and I joined our mother on her adventures into tidal lands. This one is correct because this comma is not needed between the subject and the verb. That's unnecessary, and we would go with answer D. All right, we found the hideaways where crabs, snails, starfish, and sea urchins hid in order not to be seen. So there's a lot of words there. I think we're being tested on redundancy here, and let's look at our options. No change, I don't think is good because I think we're talking about hideaways and hid and not to be seen. Those all say the same thing. So we found the hideouts where crabs, snails, starfish, and sea urchins concealed and hid themselves. Nope, we're still got hideouts, concealed, hid, too many words saying the same thing. We found the places where crabs, snails, starfish, and sea urchins were stashed away. That's a good sentence, but it conveys a different idea than our original sentence, because when you say stashed away, it sounds like somebody put them there, not that they were hiding themselves. So let's look at the last one. We found the hiding places of crabs, snails, starfish, and sea urchins. That's a good, simple sentence that conveys that these animals had hid in these places. So D is the correct answer. Remember, that's one of those shorter is better. That if you don't remember anything else from the rhetoric portion, remember shorter is better. All right, these are the sources for all of these ACT English lessons that we've been going through. The Learning Express Library ACT English tutorial, that's a great tool to use. You can go through it at your own pace, and that I guarantee you that would help you raise your English test score. The best book that I know of out there is The Complete Guide to ACT English by Erica Meltzer. She also has a website called The Critical Reader, and I'd recommend you look at that. I also use some examples from Painless Grammar by Rebecca Elliott, PhD. Thank you for watching our ACT English series, and I really think that putting a little time into reviewing your English grammar skills can really help you improve your ACT English score, and I wish you good luck on the ACT English test. Thank you.